Alright everyone, neither Sedevacantism nor Benevacantism, video number 2. In today's video, I want to talk about Pope John the 23rd specifically. As I covered in the last video, many Sedevacantists, they start the line, most of them, almost every one of them, start the line of the vacant seat of St. Peter at Pope John the 23rd. So they believe that Pope Pius XII was the last valid pope. John the 23rd onward are not true popes. Now there's usually two charges that are brought against John the 23rd from the Sedevacantists as to why they believe he was not a true pope that I'm aware of. There's probably more, but I'm going to cover two of the most common ones that I hear the most often. So the first objection is they say, well, he called the Second Vatican Council. And or the next position that they say is that Pope John the 23rd was a Freemason and therefore was a heretic and was outside of the church. Anyone outside of the church cannot be the head of the church. Now, the first objection that Pope John the 23rd called the Second Vatican Council, they say since the Second Vatican Council erred on matters of faith and morals and it taught heretical doctrine, that John the 23rd, since he called the council, could not have been the true pope. Well, first off, let me respond to that by saying that calling a council in and of itself, even if it was a heretical council, does not make one person a heretic, okay? John the 23rd did not sign any of the decrees of the Second Vatican Council. John the 23rd, in fact, was not even there when almost all of the documents were written that I'm aware of. And of course, many popes in the past have called ecumenical councils. So therefore, that objection, I think, is rather weak, in my opinion. Now, you may say that it was imprudent at the time that he called the Second Vatican Council. I know that there were many theologians who stressed, especially the conservative ones, that this was the wrong time to be calling a council of bishops because the liberals were waiting in the wings to bring forth their various modernist heresies, and it was only a matter of time if they were to call a council that some of these errors would creep into the church. Now, I may think that it's not a prudent decision, but then again, I'm not the Pope. So I just find this objection that calling the Second Vatican Council therefore means that John the 23rd lost his office or never ascended to the chair of Peter, totally flat out false, because we know that calling a council is not heretical. But the very fact that he called a council is not proof of the chair being vacant, in my opinion. Now, the second objection is, and this one in my opinion is a little bit stronger, is the fact or the belief that John the 23rd was a Freemason. Now, we may have speculations that John the 23rd was a Freemason. I know that there have been some clergymen who have stated this and have said that he, in fact, was known to visit the Masonic Lodge. But we don't know his intent behind attending the Masonic Lodge, if he even did. It's just a matter of mere speculation on our part as to whether or not John the 23rd was a Freemason. We have no clear statement from him saying that, hey, I'm a Freemason. Now, the Sedevacantists are right on this point. A Catholic cannot be a Mason. And some people are surprised when they hear this, but anybody that belongs to the lodge, the Masonic Lodge, is automatically excommunicated, and the penalty is still attached to anybody that joins the Masonic Lodge. I believe it was Cardinal Ratzinger who restated this teaching back during the days of the pontificate of Pope John Paul II, that this was still forbidden for Catholics from joining the Masonic Lodge. However, we have no way to verify whether or not that was true. So, in my opinion, it's just a matter of speculation. Now, at some point, it's certainly possible, I guess, that another pope down the line could come out and condemn John the 23rd as a heretic. I find it very unlikely since he has been canonized. But I think it is within the realm of possibility that it could happen. At least the possibility exists that that could happen. And there's a precedent for this. We know that Pope Honorius was condemned later by his successor as a heretic. That's not without precedent in the history of the church. But to sit here and say without any particular judgment from the church that John the 23rd was in fact a Freemason and therefore placed himself outside of the church, to me is just mere speculation that is very hard for even theologians, canon lawyers to verify, let alone the layman in the pew at church. So those two arguments, in my opinion, are not strong arguments whatsoever for the Sedevacantist position in regards to John the 23rd. As I stated in the last video, there are some Sedevacantists, and I think they're a slight minority, such as Father Cicada, and I believe Bishop Sanborn is of the opinion that they're unsure on the status of Pope John the 23rd. And they normally would start it with Pope Paul VI as where the see for sure was definitely vacant from that point onward. Another thing I want to mention in this video is some people have said in the comments on other videos, on the previous video I did, and other videos that I've done in the past, that Sedevacantism is a heresy. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in my opinion, Sedevacantism cannot be a heresy. Because for something to be a heresy, it must be wrong teaching at all times, in all situations. And we're all, of course, all Catholics are Sedevacantists in between the death of a pope and the election of his successor. And most Catholics watching this video have been Sedevacantists at least twice in their life, in between the death of John Paul II and the election of Benedict XVI, and in between Benedict XVI and Pope Francis. So Sedevacantism can be true at times. I believe it is just a misapplication of Catholic teaching. Agree with me, disagree with me, let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all for now.